Yeah, Anthony, don't call me sir. It makes me feel old. I'm gonna be 48 in a few months, and I can't believe it, man. You guys are still, you're not even 30 years old, and you're doing some of the things that you're doing right now. It's amazing. Congratulations, you guys.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
It's, Anthony, you and I have spoken several times over the last couple of years. In fact, when we were first talking, you were in LA.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was in LA. Yeah, that was a few years ago, and now I'm in Florida, which is a much nicer place to be for sure.
But I mean, you were in Panama. You were spending all that time down in Darien.
Yeah, I've spent a bit of time down there. I mean, not as much as guys like Michael Yon, but I've definitely, maybe 2, 3 weeks down there in total. Yeah, something like that.
Well, and what's funny is I talk about you guys all the time, and I just had Marty Bent on, and I told him he's got to get you guys on his show. But I was telling the story about you guys getting picked up on the beach in Texas, and I mean, if you want to tell some of that story, tell some of that story again, because I said one of the most amazing things was when you got let go. One of the first things you did was went back to Best Buy and buy all your gear so you can get right back out on the field.
Yeah, well, we were walking up a public Mexican beach. It was right on the other side of Texas. So if you like look at like the tip of Texas, it's right on the other side of that. And it's called La Playa Baghdad. It's about an 8 mile walk. We're about halfway up, and then a truck stopped us and told us that there was. They told us that there was a guy waiting for us at like the crossing point, which was the Rio Grande River, and they said that they had spotters looking out for us, and that it was going to be really bad for you guys if you didn't keep if you guys kept walking. So we had to get in their truck. They drove us all the way up to the river, and then some other guy, the guy that they were talking about, got into the truck. They drove us back the other way, and then we were met with guys with assault rifles, and then they were questioning us. They took all their stuff out of our bags. They thought we were spies. They had guns to us. They tied us. They tied our hands. They blindfolded us, and yeah, then it was bad. It
Yeah.
was bad.
They smashed all their stuff.
They smashed doors. So we could give you the long version. The long version will take like 20 minutes to tell you. But we've told the story a million times. But like basically after they picked us up, they brought us back. They when I say brought us back, they brought us to some area that was maybe like 10 minutes away from the beach. And like Josh said, they opened up our bags, they searched us, and making a long story short, I mean, we could get into all the details. I was trying to make nice with these people, and it was really weird because they would be nice at first, and then they would, it seemed like we were getting along with them, and then they just start screaming, like, I'm trying to give you an example. Like, for example, they'd be nice, we'd be talking, and they're like, like, shut up, open your phone. And then they would be nice again, and then they just shut up, it's time for us to tie your hands. And so it was just like you realize, okay, these are not stable people. But anyway, yeah, they ended up, long story short, blindfolding myself. They pulled a hood over Josh's head and from his jacket that he was wearing, put us in the back of a truck after they tied our hands and they said, "You're part of an investigation." They drove us around Mexico. And ultimately, we ended up driving to an empty field after a few hours and they laid all of our electronics and smashed it with a crowbar. And then that was it. And then they dropped us off at the border. And like you said, by the way, anybody that wants to ask a third party about this, because I talked about this on Fox News and they didn't believe me. They were like saying it was BS. But Michael Yan, who I know you know very well, was watching us because there was an air tag the entire time that we had. It was actually his air tag that he was tracking. And he had this up until the point that they had smashed our phones, our iPhone was still sending out the signal from the air tag. And so he was watching us and he saw us go out into this field and he's actually got screenshots from Apple Maps of where we were because I wouldn't have known otherwise exactly where we were, but he actually got those screenshots. And so anyway, they dropped us off at the border. We got back home, and then yeah, bought cameras and went back out very soon to get back the footage that we lost. That's it. I mean, the whole story we could sit here for 30 minutes of talking about it, but
Well,
yeah.
did any point though were you able to guys? One thing, last thing I want to ask about that. Were you guys communicating with each other at all? Like, shit, we're gonna die. We're any of
Yeah, I
that
mean, we thought there
thoughts?
was a good chance. Anthony had his hands tied up and he was like, "I'm loosening my hand bandages or whatever you call them." And he was basically saying that like I'm gonna fight back against these guys. But he was completely blindfolded. I had a hood over my head so I could kind of still see a little bit because they had us like in a truck and they're driving us around for like an hour.
But I thought that our chances of survival would increase if we didn't piss them off. So I was like, dude, like don't do that. So we were talking a little bit about that, but we were basically saying no more rear, which is like don't murder us,
It's
don't
like
kill
it's a
us.
really broken Spanish. That really means no to die, but
I think they got the point
they got
though.
the point. They
Yeah.
got the point. And yeah, and I mean, I was telling him, like Josh said, I was saying in the back, kind of whispering to him because I mean, they heard us talking. Eventually, they told us to shut up and stop talking, but we were in the back and our hands were tied, and they were pretty. I will say the job they did tying our hands was like I felt that I could get my hands loose, right? And I was just telling Josh, I was like, dude, like start trying to get your hand ready to go just in case, and whatever. Not that I thought we were actually going to be able to do anything, but I'd rather it be loose and ready to go than not, right? And that was it. But ultimately, we were all good, thank God. I've actually talked to a DEA agent since then, and because sometimes I'm like, was it really that big a deal? Were they really going to kill us? How dangerous was that? I talked to a DEA agent recently who works that area, who told me that he was like, man, you are lucky to be alive. Like he's like, you don't understand how lucky you are. So, and they actually killed a few Americans, I think about a year before that, in that same area. So anyway, well, whatever. Here we are.
Yeah.
Do you do
In
you
retrospect, that freaks me out hearing that a DEA agent said like you guys basically should have died. Like it's miraculous that you guys survived. It's kind of like wow, like you know what I mean? I almost can like get visions of it if it went wrong.
I was going to ask you, was that the most, after you hear that from the DEA agent, is that like the most chilling you felt even after you were like let go? Like, did like
Yeah.
that, is that what, was that the most like realization, like, oh my God, like
Yeah, it's like you
we're lucky to be
realize how
alive?
close to death you came. And it kind of freaks you out a little bit because it wouldn't have just been like a regular death. It would have been like extremely like cruel death. You know what I mean? Potentially seeing him die. It would have, I mean, it's a horrible, horrible fate if that were to happen. So yeah, we're lucky that they just decided to let us go. It was all just because one guy, El Jefe, decided to give the orders to not murder us. So
Well, so they say life is what is life is or experience is life's greatest teacher. I don't know if I just made that up or that is some that's out there somewhere. But you guys take that experience and recently your documentary that you did in Europe. I mean, that's incredible. With what you went through there, Panama, on top of the train, is the fear factor, and I don't know if that's the right word, but the intimidation factor less now because of the experience as you took it to Europe?
Um, I to be honest, I wouldn't say so. Like, for example, we there was a point in the documentary where like we got jumped and like I don't know if you saw the part where
I
there's like
saw that, yeah.
blood going down my face.
What was it?
And
What was not to interrupt you, but what was it? What did you end up getting? How many stitches from that?
I actually didn't end up getting any stitches. It healed itself. I have a scar underneath my hairline, so it kind of worked out perfectly. So it didn't leave any like visible scars on my face. But it's kind of a big scar. Like you could kind of think you could feel it. It's like a permanent like bump right there. But I just got hit in like the perfect spot for a bunch of blood to just come pouring out of my head. Um, but these guys, they already knew about us because we were filming at the Eiffel Tower a couple days before. And like these guys had it out for us. Like these guys really didn't like us. And it was sketchy. I mean, no matter how many times you are in dangerous situations or Antifa mobs you or, you get kidnapped by the cartel, getting mobbed by a group of angry African dudes outside the Eiffel Tower is never going to become less scary. You know what I mean? It's always going to pump your cortisol and, you know, um, freak you out a little bit. Not that I was like deathly scared. We still ended up doing it, but it is like, that like fight or flight feeling that you get when you feel like you're in danger. Like, that's always going to be there.
Well, and I also, I mean, man, when you guys rolled up to the Eiffel Tower, it looked, I've never been there, but it just looked so shitty with the people around it. Was it as bad as it looked in the documentary?
Yeah, it's like all African street vendors. It's not what you would imagine the Eiffel Tower being like at all. I mean, it was my first time there,
Yeah,
but
I mean, it was not selectively edited. I mean, that we showed you shots of what it looks like on the streets of
yeah,
Paris. I mean, throughout Europe,
yeah.
the whole we're showing the invasion of Europe. But
Have you ever been to the Eiffel Tower?
No, 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 never been to Europe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you should go. I mean, it is, just nice to say I went into Paris and went to the Eiffel Tower, whatever, just in general. But you'll see yourself. It's all African street vendors, just all over the place.
They had any idea who you guys were, you think? And the following that you
Um,
guys have amassed?
I don't think that they knew we were Muckraker, but
Highly doubted.
they knew that we were guys with cameras and that we were filming and that they were, in it, and that's what pissed them off.
Doesn't matter who you are. You could be a no, you could be literally somebody with no name. You could be somebody who's got no YouTube channel. You're just a tourist and you try filming them and they'll chase you out of there. Like doesn't make a difference. Million followers, zero followers, no YouTube channel, and that it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
They don't discriminate.
Not that
Yeah,
I
they'll
know.
just start chasing you. They'll
Yeah.
literally just start chasing you.
It's not like there's like sophisticated people with all this technology and they're running, like reverse face searches on us and like, oh, that's who they are. No, it's like they're not supposed to be selling there to begin with. They don't have permits. And so they're freaking out if you try filming them. There's a million videos of this. We're not the first ones to do it. Um, just people show up with Nick Shirley's done it. There's other guys whose names I don't know that have done it. And you'll see it's totally not a one-off. It's a very dangerous situation out there. And that's in front of the Eiffel Tower. You can imagine what it's like in some of these other neighborhoods in Paris and elsewhere in Europe.
Yeah. And the police told us that if they try to use any force against these people, that they actually get in trouble. So the police, it's like hard for them to even do their job.
So they literally have they have a leash on them that they can't perform their duties.
Exactly. That's basically what they told us. Yeah.
Did you see any peers, people like you that were filming around at the Eiffel Tower?
I don't remember seeing anybody.
No,
No.
not yeah, nothing
I
like
think
that.
I think it was just us. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and then Anthony, when you were the other thing I thought too, you kept made it a point. You kept reiterating to Josh. It was just the two of you that was on this that did this documentary, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And you kept saying, Josh, no matter what, don't turn the camera off, don't turn the camera off, don't turn the camera off. And every time you guys are at the airport, or any types of, it was a transit station, they just come right up to you, right? Like just got in your face, got in your face, got in your face. And then police would come, they would back down, and then you just kept the camera rolling, kept the camera rolling. I mean, it was incredible how you handled that.
Yeah, it was really sketchy because Spain, like a lot of these countries in Europe, they're like police states. So if you film in public areas and the police come up to you, I'm not an expert on all the laws over there, but the police will come up and like threaten to arrest you and like take your camera away. So we got pretty lucky to get in with that footage and get out. Um, so yeah, but I just kept recording because sometimes when you're recording something and someone comes up to you, you sort of, at least I've done it before, you sort of instinctually press like the stop recording button as if it makes a difference, as if anyone knows whether or not it's recording. So I was like making sure, okay, don't stop recording no matter what, because
It's a
stuff
bad
like
habit
that.
that that I've even done the same thing. It's really weird. It's like, something goes wrong and somebody's charging at you and you almost like he said, you almost like instinctually put down the camera or like click it off real quick as if it's going to make a difference.
Yeah,
And
like if it's gonna stop the confrontation from playing.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we had to make sure like keep that camera rolling. There's so much in the documentary or not in the documentary. There's so much that happened while we were filming the documentary that's not even in there. Like when you see the police telling us to leave, we ended up coming back a second time after the whole. So you see in the documentary, like the police are telling us to leave the airport after we filmed this group of Africans that are going to get flown to Europe. And then, so you see that and you see the cops like stop filming, whatever. We left. And then we ended up coming back like 10 minutes later. And we really were like that close to being arrested. Ultimately, the cop, like this cop was screaming at us. It's like basically like, what, something along the lines of like, what the hell are you doing? Like, do not leave. You're staying right here. And then we started talking. And then it seemed like he was just like pissed off and just wanted the situation to be done with. He's like, just like get the heck out of here and never come back. But I mean, I felt like we were about to get arrested when we went back in there the second time.
Yeah, yeah.
So look, the whole thing, Europe is like that. You need to be very careful, and they don't have a First Amendment over there. And not only that, I mean, the police over there are like corrupt and sketchy. Like we were in northern France, not Spain, like you see in the airport, but we were in France, and like the police. Actually, no, we had two encounters, multiple encounters with the police. One of them was in northern Spain, near the border of France in this town, this city called Iron. I made like a wrong turn. Like I made like a left turn where I wasn't supposed to make a left turn or something, whatever. Police pulled me over instantly and they took a cash bribe payment, right? They were like, well, we could give you a ticket or you could just pay us cash. So that's number one. Then in northern France, We were in the city of Calais. This is in the area right before they cross the English Channel, and we were getting tailed by the police for no reason. They were like tailing us for like 20 minutes. Ultimately, we just pulled into a parking lot and they sort of like left us alone. But this is what it's like up there. It's a freaking police state. Not to mention they don't have a First Amendment or any freedom of speech. So
Yeah.
you got to be careful up there.
And in the UK, it's the same, if not worse. The UK, they'll just arrest you for saying something offensive. So, yeah, the police in all these different European countries are absolutely it's they don't have like real freedom there.
When you pulled your cash out, did they take everything you had, or would they leave you with some?
They no, I had to go to an ATM. I didn't have that much cash on me. They were like, well, you could pay us like I don't know, it was like 400 or 500 euros or something. And yeah, I was paid one left turn, and that was it. And out 500 euros, 400 or 500 something. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're corrupt though. I mean, it was a cat. You ever heard of that? You ever heard of paying cash to the police after getting a ticket? I mean, so there's a lot of corruption up there.
When you got thrown out of the airport, and so you guys you're like, screw it, we're going back in. Let's go. Let's make another run at this.
That
Waited
was
10
mostly
minutes.
Anthony,
Waited
to be
10 minutes,
honest.
and then went back in.
That was mostly Anthony. I after we got because the only footage we ended up showing in the documentary was from the first time we went into the airport, not the second time anyway. The second time we went in, they literally were just threatening to like detain us or um, uh, confiscate our camera. So yeah, it was just like unnecessary risk. But thank God we still got out and it was fine.
I mean, at that point though, after the second time, you're like, all right, we've exhausted all avenues here.
Yeah, that's what I was saying after the first time because you saw the documentary. I mean, they were like kicking us out of the airport. That was the first time, and then we went back after that. So you know what I mean? Like they already like really didn't want us there. So um, yeah,
Yeah, man, there's so many aspects of that documentary. You guys are in the water like that. I mean, I don't want to give it all away, but I mean people need to watch this and see like what occurred in the water because that's some of the craziest shit that I've ever seen.
yeah, yeah, definitely was. I agree.
And law enforcement just stood there.
I mean, they did go into the water and like they sprayed mace on them, but they didn't actually get anyone.
I
Like,
don't think we're like explaining what we're even talking about though. So the scene that we're referring to here is, we went when these people crossed the English Channel, they're they're crossing the English Channel, obviously, and that's between France and the UK. And so they get in these dinghies, and everybody's they get into like waist deep water so that they can get into a dinghy. And you have to watch the documentary to understand how this works because it's almost like a taxi cab service. Like they'll launch the dinghy somewhere else. Like strong military age men launch the dinghy elsewhere, and then what they do is they come around and sort of pick people up along the beach, almost like a taxi cab service. So people are getting into waist deep water and trying to get onto the dinghy. And sometimes what'll happen is the police will actually intervene and come out with like a knife and like actually slash the boat, and everybody has to go back in. But it's a really weird situation in France because on the one hand, France clearly does not want them there, obviously. But then on the other hand, they can't just act like they're letting them freely invade the UK. They have to act like they're trying to do something to stop it. So it's this really like perverse situation where here you have a bunch of illegal aliens on the beach trying to get to the UK and leave France, but the French police are under orders to actually stop them from leaving their country, which they would obviously want to happen. So it's a really weird situation. So they don't really, it's kind of like a half-assed attempt that they make to stop them from crossing. But you can watch the documentary, you'll see, I mean, they overwhelm the police, they get on a boat, go to the UK, and yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah, and that was another situation where they didn't want you guys anywhere near that.
which
Where
situation was that?
Chasing you away from the boat. Like anytime you got near those people in the water, they were chasing you away, or weren't they? They were throwing stuff at you guys too. I saw.
Yeah, they were like splashing us with water. They were throwing sand at us. One guy said that other people are going to come and kidnap us at one point, and that the smugglers were armed. We had somebody tell us that as well. So it was definitely a sketchy situation. There were other people there from like British news outlets that were there, so that made it feel like a little bit less sketchy. Like we weren't the only ones with cameras.
I mean, don't forget, Josh, that we got chased off the beach after that, which isn't
Oh
even
yeah.
on, that's not even on camera. That might have been actually one of the sketchiest parts of the whole trip, even sketchier than getting jumped. Because what happened was we pissed these people off. And I wish we had this on camera. There would really be like no good way to get it on camera, to be honest with you. Maybe if we had like a GoPro.
Yeah.
But what happened was we pissed these people off bad and like the smugglers. And so after the boat leaves, right? Uh, I'm sort of trying to paint a picture in the viewer's head of what this is like, because I don't even the documentary. I don't think it's hard to sort of orient yourself and understand what the geographical layout was. But this beach where they take off from, what was the name of the beach again?
Um,
Forget the name of the beach.
now that you're asking, I don't remember.
Um, Anyways, so the beach, it's in between Dunkirk and Calais.
Groveline's?
Gravelines, France. That's exactly where it is. And people could look it up on Google Maps. It's a very, very, very long beach. And by long, I mean like from where the coastline is, where the water actually is, and to like get off the beach, like and get back up to the street, it's maybe like a half mile, maybe even more. I don't know. It depends on the tide. So it's very long. You can imagine like if you're at the water and something goes wrong and there's no police and you got to get back up to like where the buildings are, where the town is, you got like a half mile to run through the sand. And so it's pretty far away. And so, the boats take off, whatever. And then Josh and I might be like a few hundred feet away from the smugglers. And then the police that you see in the documentary are even further away from us, like further towards like the town. And these guys, like a group of them, they point at us and they just start screaming and sprinting towards us.
Yeah.
And it was freaking sketchy, man. And I mean, I left my flip flops there. I was wearing flip flops. I just went barefoot, lost them, took off, and we ran up to the police. And we were like, dude, these guys are chasing us, trying to get us. And the police literally pulled out their mace and were trying to mace us because they thought we were like enemy leftist press who were trying to expose them and do something bad. And so we literally had to like tiptoe back to our hotel, which was like 2 miles away, like all wet, barefoot, and just sort of hiding behind buildings because we were worried that like if these smugglers see us out on the street, they are going to mob us. I don't know, kill us. I mean, they threatened to kidnap us in the documentary. You'll see that. So it was it's very dangerous, and that happened. So there's a lot of stuff that happened in the documentary that you don't even, or that happened while filming the documentary that you don't even see.
How do you guys determine, when to push and when to back off?
It's just kind of an intuition.
Yeah, you just got to feel it out, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, like, we do fly a little too close to the sun. Like, we didn't mean to get kidnapped.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah. So, if I knew that was going to happen, I probably wouldn't have done that,
Exactly.
I mean, I didn't think I was pushing anything that day, dude. I thought when we got kidnapped, I thought that we were making a good, sound decision to go up this Mexican beach. That's public. You can literally look up Playa Baghdad in Mexico, and you'll see there's like Google reviews. People go there with their family to have picnics. So it's like, okay, it's just a Mexican beach. We'll just say we're photographers and we got kidnapped. So sometimes you don't even realize. And other times you do know that you're pushing, and then things can go bad, like getting hit over the head with an Eiffel Tower. But yeah, it's just you just got to feel it out, man.
Wait, when you going back to the Eiffel Tower for a second, did you get punched from behind, Josh, or did you
Well,
get
I
hit
got
straight
on the
on?
head. To be honest, I don't even really remember the exact moment I got hit because there was so much happening. But basically, Anthony was like holding the camera almost like a football, so he couldn't really defend himself. And there was three African dudes that ambushed him, and we were like trying to run away, and then I turned around and I saw him on his back, kind of kicking up at like three dudes, all with Eiffel Tower souvenirs, hitting him, and I ran up and started throwing hands with one of the guys, and then they all sort of like dispersed a little bit. And during that whole scene, I got hit over the head, and I didn't even feel it. I just there was just blood that started dripping down from my forehead. I was like, did I actually get hit with something? And yeah, then they just took off with like my phone and our GoPro, and I actually managed to save some of our equipment from that, which was that was good at least. But yeah, that's what happened. I don't really remember exactly the moment I got hit, to be honest, because there's just so much stuff happening.
Yeah, there's so much blood, man. How long did it take before it looked like a troop? Was that a French troop that came and cleaned you up?
Yeah, I think so. They were like in military outfit, so I would think so. I don't really know exactly, to be
It
honest.
was French military.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what. I couldn't tell you exactly anything more than that.
Were they called onto the scene, or were they happen to already be out there?
They happened to be right there. Yeah, we
And they
actually
didn't
talked
even.
to those same guys about 30 minutes before,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah.
so they were right there.
And I was actually chasing after the guys who jumped us right after they did. And there was plenty of police there, and they didn't even. I was like saying like get them, and they didn't really even attempt to do anything. So
The- you seeing this now, and now that you've come back to the States and seen the money, right? You saw that the money goes from the United Nations and it funnels down these NGOs and then it gets dispersed accordingly. Man, how hard is it to watch this and then be able to trace the whole supply chain and like law enforcement, there's nothing they can do about it on the ground.
How, I mean, like, what does it feel like?
Yeah, I mean, knowing you guys have seen step by step in various parts of the world what is occurring from an invasion standpoint. So, Europe was another chapter for you guys. How does it, I mean, how do you feel knowing that this process and like there's people that want to do something about it, but their hands are tied.
It's pretty impotent. I mean, it's, we're doing what we can. We're not elected representatives. We're not, we're not politicians. We're also not billionaires who can or help get certain politicians elected. So, what we can do is try to put out the truth. But yeah, I mean, it'll be the death of the United States and Europe and other countries that go down this path as well. I don't know if you saw, Spain is now granted like permanent residency to 500,000 of these people. That happened this week. And apparently, what I've read, I don't know how true this is, they're going to be allowed to fly in their family members, so it could be really millions of people that end up coming in. And it's a very sad situation. I mean, I don't know. What does it feel like? It probably the same way it feels like for you or anybody else seeing what the hell's going on. It's just very sad.
Yeah, and then the fact that, and you guys are pointing this out too, the amount of mosques that are continuing to open up in Europe, in comparison to the church closings. I don't think people really have a grasp on how this has been. This is the long game that they've been playing, right? And they know 2-3 decades from now, the amount of kids that are going to come out of this, and then the declining birth rates among the natural citizens. I mean, it's pretty obvious to see where this is all going. The whole fabric has changed.
Yeah, especially when you consider that these people have way more kids on average. I think it was something like 8 kids on average that these Islamic like households have in Europe versus like I think the average birth rate across all of Europe is like 1.3. So that's like you can't sustain a population with those numbers. So even if the migration were to stop right now, arguably it's too late, unless they do something to reverse that.
And all on taxpayer money too.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Right from the European Union to Spain.
But even in France and even in Spain, where you guys are in Spain, you spent some time in London then too.
Yeah. I guess what Josh was talking about is when he's talking about the European Union to Spain, he's talking specifically with these like migrant camps because they don't land directly in France. They land in Spain, or they also land in Italy too, but that's not the route we took. There's many different routes to invade Europe. There's the route from West Africa to the Canary Islands, the route from East Africa to Italy. They land at islands like Lampedusa. And then there's the land route over Turkey. So we followed the first one from West Africa to the Canary Islands, right, which is Spanish territory. And then from there, they're flown to these camps. And even on the Canary Islands, they live in camps. So they show up on a boat, they get put in camps that are paid for by the EU and others, and then they're flown to camps on the mainland Spain, which is also funded by the EU. And so that's what he's talking about. But I mean, yeah, like on the whole, yeah, of course, like Spain or sorry, excuse me, France and other countries that are not at the forefront of the invasion, yeah, they're funding this as well, putting on welfare and other things.
Yeah, I saw you were interviewing. You went into the actual camps, and they don't do anything all day. They just eat and hang out, and there's drug traffickers that go in there, and
That's it. That's it. And they what else did they say? Yeah, and they believe in witchcraft. That's another thing that they are very serious about. I mean, they were telling us like if somebody's on a boat on the way over from Africa and they see somebody that they think is a witch, it's overboard with them.
Yeah, they said if you could see at night, that makes you a witch.
Or if you have
Or
big
if you
hands.
or if you cry. Sometimes people cry and that makes them a witch. So if you're on a boat crossing from Africa onto the Canary Islands and you happen to start crying, then you might be a witch and they might just kill you. So definitely don't cry. It's pretty cruel, but it kind of shows these people have sort of a barbaric culture, and these are the people we're letting into Europe. So
the man, how did you guys determine what route you were going to take when this? How did this whole thing even come up for the documentary, and then connecting with the Tucker Carlson network for it?
So what do you mean? Like
like how did the idea and how did you carve up the route you guys were going to take? Like who came up with that?
Well, the route to Italy, as I was aware at the time, which was almost a year ago, it's crazy how fast time flies. It was not as busy. They've actually done a little bit to sort of slow down the flow. And so when you read the news reports about what's going on in Europe with the quote unquote migrants, or back then at least, it was all to the Canary Islands. So it sort of made more sense just to do that. The land route is, and then because I told you about three routes, right? I told you they go from across the Mediterranean to Italy. That's one, but that route had been slowed down. There's the Canary Islands route, or you could do the land route across Turkey. But the thing is with the land route, it's like, it's not, again, I haven't been there to actually study this, but from what I can like intuitively assume, it's not as overt. Like somebody being, or how are we going to see that, right? Somebody sort of like coming over some sneaky corridor from Turkey into Greece. That's a lot more difficult to find, probably more dangerous than just waiting for a boat to show up to the Canary Islands, right? We could easily film that. So it just made more sense to do the Canary Island route. And and that's what we did. And I mean, really, the inspiration for it was our first documentary that we did 2 years before that, or even longer than 2 years. Was it 2 years?
I think it was 2 years.
We're about 2 years before that. The one where we got kidnapped, where we followed the whole route from Ecuador to the U.S. border. That was sort of the inspiration for it. We said, why? And I always, since then, I had wanted to do the same thing. I said, why not do the same thing in Europe? Nobody's done it before. Let's do the same thing there. And that's what we did. And you don't really know what's going to happen on these trips. That's the thing. Like we showed up and really without much of a plan. The plan was to show the whole thing from Africa to the Canary Islands to Spain to France to the UK, but I didn't know if we were going to find anything good. For all we know, we could have showed up and got nothing. We got very, very, very lucky the entire time. I can't express to you how lucky we got. Showed up, there was an insider in the Canary Islands who happened to see my DM and answer me. If he hadn't done that, the scene that you see in the airport where we're showing the Africans being moved, that wouldn't exist because I he had insider information. He had friends that worked, I believe, like at the airport or maybe for the NGO, I forget exactly, but he had friends that had the schedule of when they're going to move these Africans out of their camps into the airport onto a plane to go to Madrid or Barcelona. So we got that inside information. If we didn't have that, we would have gotten nothing there. The United Nations worker that we got a hidden camera, I ran into him by chance, happened to see him. I only ran into him because of a mistake, because a boat had showed up, because we were trying to get drone shots of a boat showing up to the Canary Islands with the quote unquote migrants, right? And we missed it. We were late. And had we been on time, I probably wouldn't have done what I did after. Because we were late, I didn't get the footage of them showing up, which we later get because we stayed for another week to wait for another boat to show up. But I was late and I was like, ugh, what am I going to do? And I was like, you know what? Let me just tail the bus from where they got off at the dock to their camp. Let me just see what happens. And I tailed the bus. And as I'm tailing the bus, when I get to the camp, I see a man in a blue vest. And it's a United Nations worker. And we just happen to run into this guy and so many other things. It was a
And
situation.
that guy was the only UN worker supposedly on the Canary Islands. The chances of us even running into him are like so small.
So small.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of other things that we got incredibly lucky with. I mean, even the last day, remember when we were filming the boat that was leaving for the UK? I mean, we got lucky there too. It
Oh
took us a
yeah.
month to get that shot, dude. When people see the documentary, they'll see the scene on the beach where we're filming the boat leaving for the UK from France, and it literally took us, if not a month, it took us at least 3 weeks to
We
get that
didn't know
shot.
where to go. Like we didn't know which beach to go to get the shot. And
Yeah.
we had to make it. We already had our plane tickets to go back to the United States because we had like given up at that point. And like the footage we had just like wasn't that good. So we decided to cancel the plane tickets and then go back to France and try again. And we were like kind of questioning whether or not it was a good
We're
decision.
also running low on money at this
We're
point.
very low on money, and it feels like a movie almost. The first day there that we decided to go back, we just see it happening. Like it played out almost. I don't know. It didn't even feel real.
Yeah, so there's so much luck that went into it, and then anyway we did that, and whatever we pitched it to a few different people. Tucker Carlson, we came to a good deal, and here we are, and it was great. I think that Tucker was the right person to air with, and we would like to work with him again for sure.
Oh, so you didn't even have a deal with anybody. You guys just went and filmed this, raised the money that you thought you needed, and then pitched the idea after.
Correct. Yeah. Exactly. Oh yeah, it was a total gamble. Yeah, 100% a gamble. Yeah, people see that and they see it on Tucker Carlson, and maybe they think like, oh, these guys must have money, or Tucker Carlson was behind this. No, it was literally we just filmed this whole thing. I was under the assumption, let me just be clear, like it wasn't like I didn't have a plan. The plan was to do this and pitch it, and I did feel if it was strong enough that we would get a deal, which we did. So it was correct, but you didn't know. It was a lot of risk, and we could have ended up getting nothing. And we sunk like
25,000.
yeah, 25, $30,000 into it. Something I haven't actually like tallied the exact numbers, but just rough estimate. It's about 25 to $30,000 into it, and which would have been fine either way, even if we published it for free. But of course, we wanted to make a deal, and so we did, and yeah, it was good. We worked with Tucker Carlson, and that was it.
What a story, man. I assumed that you guys collaborated with the network and, this obviously was your idea, but, carved up a plan. And so, man, kudos to you two.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, the trailer that they cut, it makes it seem that way because they were like, our cameras went to such and such, and that's fine. I mean, that's totally cool. I mean, it's licensed to them, and for a certain period of time, and we'll see what we do with it after that. But yeah, no, it's great working with them. Tucker Carlson was a cool guy. Sometimes you meet certain people that you've only seen on TV or online, and you meet them in person, and it really is not what you expected, right? But it was cool, man. It was really great meeting him. So again, we hope we can work with them again in the future. We're working on a different documentary, which we really can't say too much about simply for safety reasons. Not that I think that you're going to do anything, but I don't want to say something and then we're trying to do something and then they're like, well, you said this on an interview. Very dangerous stuff. But I will say we were working on doing things south of the border, and there was a documentary that we had started um, over a year ago now, and it's just we're trying to line up some of the pieces for it. But once that's done, I think that we'll also try to pitch that to them as well. We'll see.
The last thing I want to ask you about the European documentary is, and I'm curious myself, taking the starving artist route. I don't think I've told Anthony you this. This week will be starting year 3 that I've been doing this full time, and so I'm curious with you two, when you do something like a project like this, what's the schedule? When do you sleep?
I mean, we just work like all day. You know what I mean? Just like any like business owner will tell you, there's no real set schedule. You just kind of show up, work as long as you can, and then, just continue the next day.
Yeah.
Are you out in the field in the nighttime though, or I mean, is it late nights when you're filming something like this?
Yeah, there's sometimes we have to wake up at like 3 in the morning. Like think about like getting that boat shot. That required us waking up like every single day at like 2, 3, 4 in the morning, driving out to like a beach, hoping to get a shot,
Yeah.
driving
I
home.
forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of times where, I mean, sometimes you get lucky too. Sometimes you just end up getting the footage really quickly, and
Yeah.
the thing is you can't really predict these things. So it kind of cuts both ways. Where sometimes you have to stay out for a really long time, like just waiting to get a shot, and sometimes the shot comes immediately and it goes faster than you think.
Like I was thinking that we were going to be able to we got out there. I thought we'd be able to do the whole thing in under a month because that's how long it took us to do the story from Ecuador to the U.S. border. Dude, it took us 2.5 months to finish that. It was crazy. Like we were going nuts towards the end of it. Like
Yeah.
it really was mentally taxing. Like you said, we were trying to get the crazy boat shot of them leaving France to go to the UK. And every morning we get up at like 3 in the morning and go drive to some beach and nothing. And then it would just be such a letdown. And then we were only up there to get that shot. And so then you're just sort of sitting around all day and you're like, what the heck are we even doing right now? Like, is this even going to work? So it's not, it's stressful, man. But when you have a success, you got to build off the success. And now it's good that, we got it done. So we're just trying to we're launching a nonprofit. It's going to be the Muckraker Foundation. So that's going to be important because people have been telling us to do that for a long time and we never really did it. I had my reservations about it, but now that's going to be launching very soon. And yeah, we're going to be doing this full time now for sure.
So now you come back to the United States, and did you go to Columbus first before you went to Minneapolis?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did. Yep.
I actually am originally from Columbus, and I grew up in Cleveland. Tell people what you saw in Columbus.
In Columbus, it was like you show up there because we were like doing the daycare center story, and on these blocks it's just daycare center after daycare center after daycare center. So it doesn't really look very natural. I mean, I don't really know of any time I'm driving down the street and I just see like 5 or 6 different daycare centers within the vicinity of like, well, like a half a mile. So it was very bizarre. and a lot of these places, their windows are like they're completely like boarded up. Like you can't even see through them. Um, so we're not claiming like any specific business is committing fraud, but it's definitely highly suspicious.
Yeah, what we were told, to add to what Josh is saying, like you said, you show up there and it's crazy. You will literally see daycares. You'll see three of them in one strip mall. It's insanity. Or if not three of them, you'll see two of them in a strip mall, and you'll see one of them right across the street in a different strip mall. It's like totally unnatural. And what we were told, I had some guy who is Somali. He's from Somalia. He moved to the United States, I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago or something. And he was telling me, you know what it is? Because he was weird, man. Like, there were places where we'd show up and it was like, this is clearly off. Like, there's something wrong here, but we hear kids inside. And so we're like, what is that? And like I don't know, is that fraudulent? I mean, there's kids in there, right? Some of them you show up to and it's there's something off, like
Yeah.
100%. We don't even know if there's anybody in there, but some of them it's like there's kids in there. And what we were told from the Somali guy was he said, really what it is they'll start like a family will start up a daycare and then they'll just send the family kids there and then sort of divvy up the money when it comes in from the government. That's what we were told. Again, we're not alleging fraud against any specific place. Can't don't I'm definitely don't want to do that, but I will say it is very sketchy and warrants a further investigation.
Yeah, I said when this story in Minnesota broke out, I'm like, this is happening in every city across the country. Like, I live in Phoenix. I guarantee you it's happening here. Like,
Yeah.
where there's, if you can get away with it in one place, you're getting away with it in as many places as possible.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm 100% sure.
Well, and also now, with your guys' experience being on, different continents and just seeing the invasion and the fraud and I mean, man, like what you guys have gone through. Now when you come back domestically, I mean, you're like a, well-trained boxer, man. The skill sets that you're picking up along the way.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I do think when you're, getting kidnapped or hit over the head with the Eiffel Tower
I don't mean to
souvenir.
laugh at that. The
No,
fact
it's
that you
fine.
guys went right back to Best Buy. I've told that
Yeah,
story probably 10 times on here because
yeah,
the
yeah.
balls of steel that you guys have, and you're just
You
like, all right,
definitely
we
feel
got to get
safer in
back out there.
America. You feel safer in America, I would definitely say. Because like that like, you have the First Amendment on your side. Maybe you can call the police. Obviously something could still go horribly wrong, even in the States, but it's definitely a lot safer than being in the middle of Mexico
Yeah.
or in some other foreign country.
I'll tell you, man, like for example, in the documentary, there was a we went to the
Mhm.
country of Mauritania, which is the worst place I've ever been in my life. That country is horrible. And for anybody that doesn't know what Mauritania is, it's some West African Islamic Republic. It's in between Senegal and Western Sahara and Mali to its east. And very sketchy. And anyway, so none of this was included in the documentary because I didn't get anything good, but that's not really the point. At one point, I was wearing in Mauritania a button cam because I was trying to get like NGO workers to say something to me on a hidden camera. Ultimately, I didn't get anything on it, so you don't see any hidden camera stuff in from Mauritania. But the sketchy thing is, it's like, dude, if I was caught, like at one point when I'm walking down the street wearing this stuff, um, a a police officer or a group of police officers, because I'm sort of like looking at Google Maps, I'm trying to figure out where I'm going. A group of police officers comes up to me and asks me if I'm good. I'm like, if they realize or for some reason search me or anything like that, they realize what's going on here, I am good. My ass is going to jail fast. Like, dude, we showed up at the airport and I mean, I can tell you the story. So we showed up at the airport and there was only one other foreigner on the plane because we flew from the Canary Islands to Mauritania. There's only one other foreigner on the plane. I think he was a German guy based on his accent that I heard, right? And he was clearly like some sort of travel vlogger. He was just carrying around his big DSLR camera like out in the open and whatever, must have been making like a travel vlog video. That's what I assume. Shows up and we're in line at customs and he's just got his big camera out. And some Mauritanian official comes up. He's like, my friend. He's like, why you have camera? What do you do with camera here in this country? And he's like, oh, I don't know. He's like, I'm just a tourist, man. And he's like, you come with me. You come. And I don't know. I don't think I'm not saying that he's in a dungeon somewhere, but they did. They took him somewhere, probably for further questioning. I had no idea. I will tell you this. It was scary, dude, because he was ahead of us and we were a few places in line behind him. And I have a giant freaking camera bag okay, with not only my DSLR, but I have my hidden camera stuff in there. And the hidden camera stuff, it's all assembled. So like people can look up hidden camera gear to kind of see what I'm talking about, but it's all assembled. In other words, like if somebody was to open up the bag and look at the gear in there, they would very quickly tell that there's spy gear in there. Like easily. And so I'm like this is happening like a few people in front of me, and I'm gonna be up in like a minute to go in to talk to customs. And I really quickly open my backpack. I take apart the gear and sort of disperse it in different parts of the bag. I take another part and like take it out and I stuff it down in a different backpack. It was freaky, man. I was like, if these people see what we have, I don't even know if we might be in jail tonight. Ultimately, nothing happened. But these are the kind of places you're in. And so, to your point, when you get back to America, it really is like doing it on easy mode. Obviously, there's danger here, but it is on easy mode. I will say though, when you're dealing with like Antifa, man, Antifa, that's a different beast. Any one of these journalists that's going out there and facing Antifa, that is as dangerous as anything we've done. That it's sketchy because it's no holds barred with those people. But on the whole, like if you're trying to expose corruption here with a hidden camera, granted, if it's deep enough corruption, I mean, you could end up something bad could happen to you. But as far as it being illegal and the police coming and arresting you, that's not going to happen, right? So, it is on easy mode in a lot of ways.
Yeah, sometimes I think if we were to, but when we did the original route documentary from Ecuador up to the United States, we hadn't really implemented the button cam yet. But I think sometimes if we had already started doing that at that time, and the Mexican cartel caught us on the beach and they saw that we had like hidden cameras on us, oh my God, like that would have been a perfect example of like how dangerous it could be to film people like with button cams. So I'm just grateful that we didn't start doing that until afterwards.
Oh yeah, if the cartel had caught us with hidden cameras, I think we would have been killed.
Oh, 100%. So that's why like hidden cameras in general are just like very, very sketchy, especially in foreign countries.
Yeah,
So
be real careful.
that's a big part of what makes these like missions so dangerous. Like if we were to ever get caught like filming people secretly in
Yeah.
these foreign countries.
And there's sometimes when we don't do it. Like in the documentary, we were filming a United Nations worker. We met that man multiple times, not just the times that you see in the documentary, and or the time you see in the documentary. And at a certain point, we just stopped doing it again because it's like we don't want to push this too far and get caught doing this in this part of the world, right? So, anyway, but again, whatever. There's dangers here in the United States, but in a lot of ways, like you said, it is just you really can't compare the two. We're so blessed. You come back to the United States after being abroad like that, and you kiss the ground when you get here. So grateful to be an American. So blessed.
I was going to ask you, do you breathe a sigh of relief when you land, when you come back?
Every single time.
Yeah.
Every single time. No, this is the best country on planet Earth. And all you got to do, go to any other country. I don't care what it is. Go anywhere in Europe. It does not compare. This is the best country on planet Earth, you know? And this is the only country, if there's any American out there that is concerned with the affairs of another country above America's, go to that other country, please. The only thing that should matter for Americans and American politicians is America, because this country's going down the tube fast. And I mean, we need to preserve it because I will tell you, there is nowhere else. I mean, I'm not the first one to say this. Ronald Reagan said the same thing, and as have many others, but there's literally nowhere else to go.
Yeah,
Just
especially when you're comparing the invasions that were happening. Obviously, Trump has, shut down the border now, but if you're comparing like the people who are coming up from South America up to the United States versus people who are coming from Africa up to Europe, the people who are coming from Africa up to Europe
and the Middle
are
East too, not to interrupt you, but and the Middle
they're
East.
they're way more barbaric. They're way more hostile towards you. Like we could actually film the people coming up from South America to the United States, and they were like happy to be on camera. Like these people, you know, I'm not going to say that they are assimilable, but to the extent that they are, they're definitely more assimilable than the Africans are to Europe. So Europe is getting it a lot worse than America ever had to get it. So there's no real place to flee, or very few places at least.
And I will say, even if that wasn't happening, forget about that for a second. Even if that wasn't happening, these are not free countries. These countries suck, okay? Hate to say it. Our ancestors are from Italy, for example. I would not move to Italy. You kidding me? Where they will literally, you try to schedule, I mean, there's stories of this. You try to schedule a protest. There's a I believe every year, or they started hosting a group of Europeans like a remigration summit. Remigration is this general idea that Europe has to find a way to get a lot of the people who showed up and migrated to Europe to migrate back to the countries that they were from. And there were stories in Italy of the police coming and like knocking on the doors of people who are going to this remigration summit. It's crazy, man. So forget about even the idea that, oh, well, people have come over to Europe as well illegally and there's mass demographic change. Forget about that for a second. It's just not a free country. It sucks. I don't want to live there. So this is the only place there is to be remotely free, and it's got to be preserved at all costs.
And I don't think people realize either. I was on a road trip last summer for 5.5 weeks. I was in Ohio, Virginia, North Carolina, upstate New York, West Virginia. It's a big place, man. It's a big place, and there's a lot of area where there's just not a lot of people too.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
So you were just in Minneapolis then as well.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah, we were.
What the hell's going on up there? I mean, I see what's going on up there, videos, but what did you guys see with your own eyes?
We went to an ICE protest, and just a lot of angry liberals there that, I mean, you've probably heard this all before, but they don't want any borders. They don't care if America exists. We're living on stolen land, and you know, some of them that you talk to are a little bit more nuanced. They're a little bit more reasonable, but I would say over 50% of the people that we talked to were like very radical and like had clear contempt for the country. Um, so yeah, that's basically what we saw. And it was like negative 12 degrees. So it just goes to show like these people are very, very committed to their goals if they're going to be out there, um, protesting in that type of weather.
It's clearly a war zone. It's clearly it is a small example of what's going to happen to a much larger part of the country. That's crazy, man. You try to enforce basic immigration law, and this is what happens. You get mass protests. You get a bunch of people that are actually like, American citizens fighting to protect the rights of illegal aliens, criminal aliens to stay in the country. That's how ideologically subverted a lot of these people are, man. But I
Yeah.
mean, what's going on? We didn't. Who's broken the crazy stuff is, I mean, the work that Cam Higby did up there, exposing the secret signal chat. That's crazy stuff. I mean, you can go up there all day. We got up there and it was, like Josh said, it was freaking negative, however many degrees out, and it's incredible, really, that I will give the left some credit. They're out there protesting like all day and all night in this, like, what was it, like negative 10 at one point? I don't even
Yeah,
know.
well, at nighttime it got to I think negative 28 at one point.
Wow. And they're out there and they're protesting. So, these are very serious people. And they're fighting for what they want, which is to protect the rights of illegal alien invaders. And so, people on the right need to take that very seriously and not just like you try to sweep it under the rug and be like, well, these are just crazy people. No, like these people are highly motivated, highly organized, and then you need to take it very seriously because these are very serious people on the other end.
Yeah.
Even if some of them look funny with pink hair and and polka dots and all that, um, they're even if they're just idiot foot soldiers, they are being sort of corralled and controlled by powerful, very well funded entities.
Yeah, and they seem a lot more organized and more angry than the right. I mean, think about the right wing, like, Charlie Kirk gets assassinated. Imagine something the equivalent of that happened like on their side to the left. I mean, there's no doubt that these people would be rioting in the streets, but what do people on the right do? And maybe this is just shows that the people on the right are what morally superior, but they hold vigils. It's peaceful, and it's actually the left who goes out and protests, saying that this guy deserves to die. And they're the ones that are vandalizing memorials of Charlie Kirk. So, when you're like kind of comparing both sides, I feel like the left is like very highly organized, and I mean, obviously there's radicals on both sides, but I feel like the main difference is that the radicals on the left, I feel like they just like hate the country. You know what I mean? They don't want America to exist. While radicals on the right, maybe they're radical, maybe they hold viewpoints that you don't agree with, but I don't really see that hatred for the country the same way I see it with the left.
Yeah, one of the things that I was talking to a friend of mine about yesterday, and he was pointing out, and you guys were there, that things are not calming down, and the administration's got to get a handle on this because it's only going to the temperatures are only going to weather-wise warm up, and This has I mean, this has the capability to really spiral out of control in a lot of cities.
It absolutely does. Look at what happened in Los Angeles. Look what happened in Chicago. Look what's happening in Minneapolis now. It'll be out of control everywhere until it's taken seriously. Just name the city that you plan to send ice to, and it will get crazy there. Barring, I mean, maybe some areas of Florida because they don't really put up with that down here. But everywhere else, and even in Florida, I mean, there was an anti-ice protest in I think Tampa or Orlando. It was like a couple weeks ago. But I think Florida might be the one place where it could be kind of tame. Like they didn't put up with any of that BLM nonsense down here. But yeah, I don't think it matters where you go, especially depending on who the governor is and the mayor of the major city is. Yeah, it'll be mayhem, man.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like a revolution here on the streets. That's what it is. It's like communist insurrection.
Yeah, and the issue with ICE is that the whole thing feels like a half measure because they're not actually deporting that many people. So what they're doing is they're just kind of pissing off the left without going all the way with it. But if you're gonna do this, if you're already pissing them off anyway, you might as well go all the way with it, where you have like huge sweeps of people getting, deported from neighborhoods. But that's not really what we're seeing. So it would almost, in a sense, be better to not do this and to not piss off the left because when they get in power, they're going to want vengeance. So, you either got to go all the way with it and actually deport, you know, close to, or if not, as many people who came into the country under the Biden administration, or do nothing at all. But if you do this kind of halfway in between stuff where you deport some people and you piss off the left, it doesn't really make a difference, then that's all you're doing. You're just pissing off the left. And what's going to happen when these people get into power?
Yeah, that's one of the I was saying the benefits of Phoenix. In the summer is when these protests really heat up. Probably the same thing with you guys with the humidity in Florida. People, 118 degrees. Yeah, you're going to have some diehards out there, but how long can they stand out there?
Well, Phoenix is a lot worse than Florida. I've been to Phoenix a couple of times. Phoenix is really bad as
It's
far as the
bad.
heat.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, with the heat wave. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. But the
Yeah.
protesting, I mean, they're having protests here right now, but again, it's not the peak of protest season. So actually, summers in Phoenix is a good time to be here in regards to, how many people are going to stand out there when it's 118 in July.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you're really dedicated, we've seen it, but
Some people will, man. But I hear what you're saying. Yeah, you got to get it. They think it's like that May time. It's like, you think BLM 2020, that was like the perfect storm. Everybody been locked down. It was the perfect time of year for it. And then you got the explosion in 2020, the great communist insurrection, man.
Yeah, I that happened on May 30th. Was ironically is my birthday, so I always remember that day of May 30th, 2020, because I was out that night in Phoenix, and I got word that stuff was going down in Old Town Scottsdale, which I was only like 5 miles from it. I'm like, oh shit, I'm going home, because that's the one thing. I mean, I got crucified on my personal Facebook page because I said if you go to any of these places right now, it's a war zone. Like if you're just a casual person, you're a moron to go down there. People are like, oh, free speech, free speech. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, well, you go do whatever you want. But if you're going to go there and you're going to start yelling at federal agents, I mean, nothing good's going to come from that.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, if you want to protest, protest. But if you're going to go get in the face of these ICE agents, I mean, that's something completely different.
Do you think things are calming down there based on your time?
Calming down? No, I don't think. Well, they'll calm down if there's a complete pullout of ICE. But no, I mean, these people are not. No, the people, they're very serious. They're not going anywhere. The people that are protesting this, no, I don't think it's calming down at all. Again, it'll calm down if ICE leaves, maybe. But otherwise, like Josh said, it's going to be this constant battle, the left getting agitated, and it's really bad optics as well. And the thing is, nobody's happy because obviously the left is pissed off. Pissed off isn't even the right word. I mean, they're getting militant against what's going on. And the right is also not satisfied because we're not even getting the mass deportations that we voted for, right? All these people that came in, they're on the government dole. We're paying for that, a lot of them at least. And they're not getting deported. So nobody's happy with this, right? So, yeah, the Republicans are going to get totally wiped out in the midterms and likely in 2028 as well during the next presidential election. And yeah, so it's not looking good.
Yeah, you think the midterms? You think they're going to get annihilated, huh?
I do. Yeah, I actually do. I mean, historically, that's what happens, right? I think it's only been a few times in like the last 100 years that in the midterms, the House doesn't flip. Um, So I think they're going to get annihilated, and I think that there's so many other reasons beyond just the ICE situation. Trump saying that,
Housing prices.
yeah, Trump saying that his, I mean, I was going to say something else, but like Josh said, Trump saying that his goal is to keep housing prices up, artificially, of course, that affordability is a myth, that the Epstein files are a hoax, which now we know is not. They just got released, what was it, yesterday? 6 million of them, or the day before. Um, all this stuff at war with Iran. Nobody's happy, right? And all you have to do is flip. It's not that you have to flip 20 million people. You only have to flip a few thousand or a few tens of thousands in key states, and that's it. You know, the whole everything changes. And so I think there's going to wipe out. That's what I think. 100%. If not wipe out, it's going to be enough to change the balance of power.
Yeah, I think the whole war with Iran, I don't know how they could do that because, I mean, to me, they get their hands full in Minneapolis right now. That has to get straightened out before you can even. I mean, I don't want any of that to happen overseas, but I mean, this administration's hands are full with Minneapolis right now, and it has the opportunity or potential to explode, like we just talked about, all over the country in every major city.
Priority number one should be to secure what's going on in the borders of the United States. And I know you can't be ignorant and say that, well, nothing else matters abroad. Let us just, turn the blind eye to it. Of course, there's interest abroad that we need to maintain. You got to prioritize certain things, but this idea that war with Iran should take any sort of priority above what's going on in this country is totally nuts. You don't have to be some scholar, right? With a PhD teaching history or political science at Harvard to understand that.
And I think that with the last thing I'll say, and I'm running out of time with you guys. With Don Lemon getting arrested, not that it was wrong that he got arrested, but I think that's that's an escalation, of what's next. How will they respond up in the ante here? How will the left respond?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes I feel like, oh, well, like you don't want to stoop down to their level. You know what I mean? You don't want to stoop down to the left's level. But it seems like no matter, you try to take the high road or the right tries to take the high road in certain things, and it doesn't really matter. The left still hates you. The left still celebrates, when one of the leaders of the right dies. So then, then someone like Don Lemon gets arrested, and then people want to say, oh, well, maybe that wasn't justifiable. But another part of me is thinking you sort of have to fight fire with fire a little bit. If these people are going to try to, I know we were just, saying things negative about Trump, but they were trying to throw Trump in jail. They're trying to make up charges against him. If the right doesn't, use any of those same tactics, you could argue that you're just going to end up losing because you're not actually using the same tactics that they're willing to implement. So, I don't know, you can add to
Yeah, I
that.
mean, look what happened with the J Sixers. Okay. And I agree with you, though. You don't want to have, because at the end of the day, I'm sort of a libertarian. I definitely disagree with the libertarians in a lot of things, one of them being open borders, and probably drugs as well to a certain extent. But whatever. By and large, I'm libertarian oriented. And therefore, it does worry me when you see this constant escalation. Like you see what happened with the J Sixers. And then, you see what's going on. I get what you're saying. I can't even say that there's been too much weaponization when it comes to the Trump administration. I mean, the Trump administration, look, for example, do you see Trump going at the Trump DOJ going after Joe Biden? Or do you see them
No,
arresting Alejandro Mayorkas?
no,
Not
never, and,
happening.
and never will.
Never will
No.
happen, right? So, but I guess my point is this, like, I do get concerned that what we will see, if not with Trump, under somebody else, is this like escalation. And that was my fear. And actually, on the one hand, while I do want to see Alejandro Mayorkas, the guy should be, I mean, he should really be met with the death penalty,
You guys
frankly.
know, if all people know, not to interrupt you guys, but if all people know, you two should know because everything you've seen.
Yeah. Look, if I smuggle drugs into Asia, for example, depending on the country, certain Asian countries, they'll put me to death or sentence me to life in prison. Now, drugs, if I'm smuggling in drugs, well, okay, that's bad. But at the end of the day, you still need a willing consumer of those drugs. Now, if I'm smuggling a freaking human being into a country, who could be, God knows who, it could be a terrorist, whatever, um, think about how much more dangerous that could be than drugs. Because that human being has his own autonomy and could go out and commit all sorts of crimes and against people who weren't even involved. Whereas drugs, okay, you bring in drugs, there needs to be a willing consumer. You might get somebody who's just an innocent bystander that could get killed by somebody that you smuggled in. Now imagine you oversaw the system that allowed almost 10 million people to invade the country. You obviously that could be met by death in any serious country. However, the point is, what I do fear is that there's this constant ratcheting up where a certain person or group gets in power, go after the people that were just in power, then vice versa happens, and before you know it, you're living in a dictatorship, and that does scare me. I don't really have a good answer or solution for you right now, unfortunately, because
No,
you do have to meet fire with fire.
right, and I'm not saying Don Lemon that wasn't justified, but it's just it's upping the ante, right? How will they respond? How will they respond?
Yeah,
Escalation,
I
escalation,
guess on
escalation.
the
That's what I
the
meant by
other
that. So I don't want you guys to think that I was like, oh, it was bad that they did
No, I
that.
hear what you're saying. I hear
Yeah,
what you're
yeah. But
saying.
the other side of it is, let's say you just don't do anything because you want to be like, the morally righteous side. And
Can't do that either.
yeah, well, yeah, because it's like, what are you supposed to do? It's like on one hand you're upping the ante and that's bad, but on the other hand you're not doing anything and they're just going to continue to use all their tactics and that's also bad. So I guess pick your poison.
But they're totally justified. Totally justified. Could you imagine a group of right-wing people stormed a mosque and started
Oh,
intimidating people at a mosque? Get out of here. No, you don't do that. There's certain things in this society that we just shouldn't tolerate. Storming a church being one of them. You don't do that. Okay. And I'm totally happy to set a very, very hard line there. And Don Lemon, let's see what ends up happening to him. I have a feeling that nothing's going to end up happening in the long run. But maybe I'm wrong. Let's see what happens.
that's my approach to everything, Anthony. I'm the same way. I don't think it'll happen, but hey, I'm not an absolutist. Maybe we'll be wrong this time.
I'm not in charge.
Me
I'm just a
either.
guy that runs muckraker.com and does certain cool documentaries and that's it. I'm not the one who's going to be making that decision. So let's see what happens.
Where can people find you guys?
Muckraker.com and at Real Muckraker on all social media platforms.
And if people want to contribute financially to your work, which I encourage everybody to do,
Oh, there's a big donate buttons on the website, and pretty soon it's not ready yet. Maybe over the next month or so, we're going to have a nonprofit that will be launched where people can make tax deductible donations.
the next project you guys can't really talk about yet, is there something a go between right now that you guys are going to be working on, or is it all the eggs in the next project?
No. There's going to be smaller stuff, fraud related stuff, and I'll just keep it at that for now. But we've already got some very very compelling footage. We're just trying to, now we got to go down and confront some people. But evidence that the taxpayer is being ripped off by foreigners, not just through daycares, and you'll see very soon.
Last question I want to ask you guys: when you guys were overseas in Europe, did you see any drug usage, and if so, what were the drugs that people were consuming?
Well, there's just some really sketchy places like that we were at. I think it was in France. I mean, you can find these places anywhere. Like there's slums in every city that you go to on Earth. But I remember, I think it was in Paris, right? We were
Hmm.
like under a bridge
Hmm.
and like it smelled horrible and like you could tell everyone there was on drugs. And we were basically just trying to get like information out of these people. Like we were just asking them, like, are you guys gonna try to take like a boat up to the United Kingdom, kind of just try to get information because we knew a lot of these people were migrants. But like, yeah, you see a lot of them, they're living in slums, and a lot of them are like you could tell that they're taking drugs.
Wasn't
So,
one of them doing like really hard drugs in front of us? I feel like we saw that.
um,
I'm pretty
I
sure we
don't
did.
know. I do remember vaguely that that some of them are clearly on drugs.
No, they're definitely,
Yeah, and
definitely.
but by the way, that part wasn't even like in our documentary. I don't believe. I think it was included as like B-roll in our documentary, but it wasn't like, you know what I mean? That just because there's so much stuff that we experience that we get that doesn't even end up making it into the final cut of whatever we end up making.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we did see that though.
I'm trying to think of a specific example, and it's kind of escaped me. But there was 100% in some of these, like Josh said, these slums that are just all foreigners in Paris. Yeah, yeah, a lot of drug use. Even the outside of the camps in Spain, where these people show up on the Canary Islands, people were telling us that there's drug use. So again, this isn't even in the documentary. It's just sort of, yeah, there's only so much you can include, and you really got to put the story together in a concise way. And so
Well, actually, the first guy in Mauritania that we talked to told us that there was drug smugglers that go on the boats up to the Canary
he
Islands
did say that.
from Mauritania. So.
Are they doing fentanyl though? What are they doing? They say what they were doing?
No, I
He
couldn't.
he just said drug smugglers.
Yeah, I
so
couldn't.
But you guys saw your share just Skid Row, right? Like walking up and down Skid Row, probably saw your usage of drugs, drug usage
In the United States, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I used to do that. That was my first viral video. Was down on Skid Row, going down and doing the going into these tents and having crack smoke blowing in my face. That was crazy, man. I mean, the fact that that even exists is just such a joke. Very dangerous. You know what? Well, it is obviously very dangerous, but I mean, you got to mind your business and sort of keep your head down and not be overt. But I mean, you could survive out there. There's a lot more dangerous places than Skid Row. But obviously, if you're an idiot and you show up showing like, really overt displays of wealth, yeah, you're gonna get jumped for sure.
yeah. And one last thing I wanted to mention was, in Minneapolis, where George Floyd died, they turned that into an autonomous zone called George Floyd Square, where they have like a giant black fist that's just like right in the middle of like an intersection, and then all the businesses there are just like shut down. There's a gas station that they completely shut down. They spray painted People's Way there, and we come back like a couple years later.
Yeah, it was 5 years later.
5 years later, yeah, yeah, time flies, and it's all still there. I mean, obviously, cars are still allowed to drive through, but all the businesses are still like shut down. That the Black Fist is still there, so it just kind of shows like yeah, these people have completely like taken over like that area.
George Floyd Square, people can look it up. There's literally a gas station, like Josh said, that got shut down 6 years ago is when they did this. Almost 6 years ago. It's called People's Way. It was a speedway. They turned it into People's Way. That happened in 2020. We visited a year later in 2021. And we went back there now almost 5 years after our video. It was like 4.5 years. Speedway is still People's Way, if you can even believe that.
Yeah.
They literally just took over a gas station, and I guess that's just it. I don't even.
I just can't believe they didn't do anything
just
about
didn't-
it.
yeah,
Like
it's still
they never
there.
even changed it back. Like they were like, okay, guys, like let's wrap up here. Let's like turn these businesses back into normal businesses. You can't just take this over permanently, but it's just taken over permanently.
I don't know, like, what happened? That would actually be a really good video. What happened to the owner of that speedway? Did he just like what? Wait, so a bunch of communists took over my gas station. I guess that's it.
Yeah, there's like no recourse if you're a business that happened to be there. It's like too bad the mob wins, I guess.
I don't even know what happened. Like just speaking to you now, it's like I don't even know how that took. Like, what happened to the guy that owned the speedway? We gotta find that guy maybe and like look up business records and see. I have no idea, dude. It's crazy. George Floyd Square, communist occupation zone. A lot more of that kind of crap is gonna start coming. Mamdani is mayor of New York City. Let's see how that plays out. I could totally see the same crap happening up there in parts of California. Prepare yourself. Buy gold and silver. Make sure you have a firearm and preserve your wealth, man. Because it's going to get really bad when the dollar collapses, but that's a different discussion.
Yeah, that'd be a whole nother hour. We could talk about that.
Yeah, straight up.
Guys, I appreciate you doing this. It's great to see the success that you're having. I mean, Anthony, you and I have known each other now for a few years. Josh, you and I spoke, I think it was last year for the first time. And to watch this whole project, if that's the right word to say, watch this thing evolve and evolve and evolve and evolve and evolve. It's great that I've been, able to be a part of some of this with our conversations. So
Thank you. We appreciate that.
We very much appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
mic drop.